Okay, where was I?
Oh yeah, the ATV. You know, what's funny is that in the summer of 2002, when Attack of the Clones was wowing people with more shenanigans in the Senate, I remember there was a comment from more than one Trek fan
About how the conveyor belt scene felt like it was from a video game. And then we have this crap. Picard and Data have to drive all over the place collecting pieces while shooting at and being shot at by bad guys. Remember, Picard, collect all 6 and you'll get an Xbox achievement and an unlockable Geordi visor for your avatar.
It seems impossible. The Star Captain's most solemn oath is that he will give his life, even his entire crew, rather than violate the Prime Directive.
You ever think of putting some windshields on this thing? Getting hit in the face with a rock at 40 miles per hour can hurt. And it'd probably also protect you from the bullets of the locals if you use some of that transparent aluminum, so, you wouldn't have to gun them down. Obviously not, because the whole point for this scene is mindless, self-indulgent action. Patrick Stewart loves to drive, so even though none of this makes any sense whatsoever, they're having a car chase in a Star Trek movie. Now don't get me wrong, vehicles are something Star Trek has needed for a while. It's silly that their only options are either spaceship or walk, nothing in between. Even guys on the moon eventually got a rover to drive around on, and they had to fit that into their tiny little landing craft. Here they've got all the room in the world, and they wind up building a ground vehicle that, with the probable exception of its fuel source, is inferior to a modern Humvee in pretty much every measurable way. It's probably because it was the best they could afford on the budget for this stupid idea. And if you're not convinced this whole bit is beyond ridiculous, when Data has to take over the Argo shuttle remotely because the bad guys have it surrounded, he doesn't land it in front of the Argo buggy itself. He has it hovering in the air out past a cliff so that Picard has to make a precision jump to land inside it, rather than the more sensible thing of just driving into the damn thing like it was designed to do. Because everybody knows in action movies you have to fly one kind of vehicle into another kind of vehicle somehow. This is the international symbol for don't take anything in this movie seriously or being ridiculous on purpose. Now remember this, because the moment you start to say, well, I like the seriousness of the way the film analyzes the nature of who we are based on, remember the image of a 74-year-old man doing a Dukes of Hazzard into a shuttle for no reason. So they've collected all the pieces, and Geordi suspects this guy, who calls himself B4, is a less sophisticated android, probably a prototype. Another android. Anyone else remember lore? No? Oh, well, in that case, let's just put this guy back together again and see what shakes loose. It's not as if there's any mystery, what with him being scattered, fully functional and conscious on a planet just outside the neutral zone. Aw, that won't bite us in the ass later. Picard heads to his ready room. Just erase some of these sensor logs and no one will ever know. I'll still be able to give long speeches about the sanctity of the Prime Directive, as soon as Worf finishes picking all those bits of alien out of the grill. A little tea Earl Grey hot to show that he's not possessed by anything other than excess testosterone. And it's time for the crossover that exists solely to make my job of making fun of this movie even easier, if that were somehow possible.
Jean-Luc, how'd you like a trip to Romulus?
In a torpedo. A bad Star Trek movie with Janeway guest starring. Oh, Rick Berman, you didn't have to get me anything for Christmas. Yes, Janeway's been kicked upstairs to Starfleet Command, and is, in fact, not just an admiral, but one of the highest-ranking ones in the show. According to Memory Alpha, and sure, they might not know much about boobs, but they do know trivia, there's only 3 admirals in this era, once you eliminate all the dupes, alternate realities, etc., that we have actually seen who outrank her. Suddenly, she can now order around the Federation flagship on her whim. But that's just one of numerous plot holes. And the odd thing is, once again, if you subscribe to the Psycho Janeway theory, most of the plot holes disappear. I don't understand how you could possibly become an admiral before me. I've been a captain for almost 40 years, invented new tactics, saved the human race. All you ever did was get pulled across the galaxy and managed to wander back home again. You have any idea how many times I've been thrown all over the universe by weird experiments and all-powerful beings and come back? Oh, you've been put up for promotion, Picard, but when I was picking up Tom Paris, I used my father's old access codes to introduce a program that said every time you were supposed to get promoted, it'd be rerouted to my file. That's why I got promoted over Commodore, over Rear Admiral, directly to Vice Admiral on coming back. What? Oh, yes, it's all part of my plan. Actually, everything that's happened with your mission is my plan. Shinzon's got an advanced warship that can fire while cloaked, armed with a weapon that can exterminate a whole planet. It's made using technology I got from my future self and traded to him for valuable information. Or did you actually think a bunch of backward-ass morons like the Remans could have pulled this thing out of their ass? You mean you traded technology to the enemy? Wasn't the first time. That B4 droid? That's just lore. I used my high-level access to take his remains. Then I dumbed him down so Shinzon couldn't get much use out of him. My God, what have you done? Handed him the means to sneak up on Earth and annihilate the heart of the Federation? And blow up his own ship, too. He won't see that coming. Luckily, I'll be conveniently off-world, and thus the highest-ranking leader left in the Federation, ready to lead the remnants in a just war against the Romulans, which will be short thanks to Shinzon killing their leadership, leaving me in control of both nations, from which I can launch my total conquest of the galaxy. You're mad. Why are you even telling me all this? Oh, I reprogrammed your replicator while I was picking up Tom Paris. Your Earl Grey's drugged. You won't even remember any of this conversation. Rubbish. That's never happened before. It's happened ever since they installed my Doctor replicators on the Enterprise E. Unfortunately, the drug's side effects substantially increases testosterone. That's why you're so aggressive and you lost the rest of your hair. Sorry. Look on the bright side. Once you go on this mission, it won't matter, because there's no way anyone will be coming back from Romulus alive. But you... What was I saying? You were insisting that I send you on this mission, and damn it, Picard, you've convinced me. Whether you make it back alive or not, I'm putting you up for a promotion. You've earned it. Self-indulgent? Yeah, but cut me some slack, man. I will never get a chance to do this again. The briefing sets up what's up, but then I'm sure you know that by now. Shinzon's taken over as the new Praetor and asked for the Federation to send an envoy to discuss peace. And Janeway sent the Enterprise because it happens to be the closest ship. I know, the Enterprise is the flagship and Picard an experienced diplomat, but her stated reason is really that it happens to be there. And what does that matter anyway, since we saw in First Contact and we see again in this film, the neutral zone is within spitting distance of Earth. You could send a trained ambassador if you wanted to, but never mind. Let's talk about the Remans, a.k.a. the guys we've never heard of. This slave caste lives on the eternally dark side of their world, mining dilithium and building heavy weapons for the Romulan fleet. So the fact that one of their numbers become Praetor is shocking. But because he's a victorious general in their military, he probably got help from the military in his coup. Well, let's get back to the stupid.
I still can't believe the captain went along with the memory download.
Yeah, aren't you privy to like tons of secure information on the Federation, access codes to damn near everything, and have already run into an evil version of yourself who tried to destroy the Federation? And you're just going to hand this all over to someone you found lying on a planet somewhere? How do you people keep winning when you're this stupid? The answer to that is that their enemies are even dumber than they are, as you're about to discover when we meet them. Eventually. Because they make the Enterprise wait 17 hours before they finally bother making their entrance. Well, whatever Shinzon's plan is, obviously he must have all the time in the world for it, huh? According to Troy, they've been out here the whole time, but have finally decided to decloak and reveal how badass their ship is, with tons of weapons and shields, and of course, a big scary shape. The Viceroy soon reveals himself and his ship, the Scimitar. This, by the way, is Ron Perlman under tons of makeup and completely wasted in this role. You can't see his face, you can't recognize his voice, and he does next to nothing but stand there all movie. So just about everyone beams down to meet with Shinzon in his room, tastefully decorated in nouveau ominous style. Shinzon turns out to be human, unlike his Reman guards. Everyone's confused at this turn, but it's hard to tell what's going on, since Remans don't like the light. Shinzon's busy farting around until Picard finally gets him to stop the subterfuge crap and get on with it. Now, one thing's for sure, Shinzon definitely doesn't have a ticking clock here. So he rambles on about some more stuff until he invites Picard to dinner. Tomorrow. Yeah, definitely no hurry for Shinzon's plans. Whenever we get around to things, it's just fine with him. Shinzon gives a blood sample by slashing his palm to show how badass he is. I always want to see them dealing with the fact that they've slashed themselves with a non-sterile blade, then cackling away later on about how their great plan is falling into place while some nurse cleans it while smoking a cigarette. Yes, I didn't so much as flinch when it's just iodine, you big baby!
He's a clone. They probably used a hair follicle or a skin cell.
So that's where that follicle went. Damn Romulans, they stole it! The Romulan military are also wondering what the deal is with Shinzon and his promise to attack the Federation.
I don't understand why now you delay.
The audience is wondering the same thing, Shinzon. He dismisses all except Commander Donatra, so he can do a little one-on-one speechifying.
There's a word I want you to consider.
Attemptitude. I thought it up in the shower this morning and thought it sounded good, but I don't want to sound stupid in front of Picard. What do you think? There's a bullshit conversation over loyalty, which ends with him throwing her out of his sight and threatening to kill her. Yeah, unless your goal was to alienate Donatra, I think you've only made things worse, Shinzon. For an evil genius, you sure seem like a dumbass. Oh, speaking of which, we cut back to B4, who is switched on and begins trying to access the Matrix. He's getting access to Starfleet information. Wow. Didn't see that one coming, did ya?